Hi and welcome back to my channel. This is a special video for me. The long version of it is for members only, but I thought I would share this with everyone because I think it's very important. I'm here talking about the amazing history festival I've ever been to, Chalke History Festival. For me, this is the best history festival, not because of who is talking there, because to be fair, there are so many wonderful history festivals in the UK and I love them all, but I have to say Chalke stole my heart, probably because when you're there you breathe and you live and you eat history. And what I mean by that is that you really experience history. You know, it's not just about having history talks, like, so you have amazing historians that come and talk about their passion. You have historical fiction writers as well. So, you know, I really love that it's not just about history. There are way more than that. But you also have the opportunity to experience history like you never experienced history before. You can meet archaeologists and you meet scientists. And you can throw axes like a Viking. It's quite cool. And there's a lot of activities as well for children. And as a mother of two, it's for me very important to know that one day I will be able to bring my children to Chalke History Festival and know that they will have lots of fun like I do, even if they're not, and I hope they will be, history nerds. It's a festival that also does things differently. You start quite early in the morning, but it ends very late at night as well. You have the last talks in the evenings, but you also have then live music, which is just wonderful. The vibe and the atmosphere there is totally unique. Chalke History Festival is incomparable. And I was so humbled and honored to be invited, not only to talk about my passion, but I organized panels with historians, colleagues, friends, people I highly respect on two important topics. The first one was toxic love, and it was with Dr. Elena Yanega and Dr. Zach White, and we discussed, you know, the toxic relationships between queens and their husbands. So I discussed Anne Boleyn and Henry VIII. Eleanor discussed Eleanor of Aquitaine and her two husbands, Louis of France and Henry of England. So it was quite interesting as well to see, you know, the different dynamics here. And Zach discussed Josephine and Bonaparte, Napoleon Bonaparte. So here we realized that there are lots of themes, recurring themes about women and what it was like to be a woman and to be with someone so powerful, or to be yourself very powerful, and how you depicted about it, you know, for Eleanor of Aquitaine. So that was the first talk we had, and we were, you know, honored to have a chair who knows what she does, and it's the amazing Shalina Patel, who has written a beautiful book that I'm going to put right here. And then I organized another panel with my dear colleagues. It's kind of like, you know, kind of crazy that I'm part of that team. I'm so humbled to have been asked to work with them. 3 scientists, we can call them that, it's a bit difficult, but I'm going to get into this, discovered the letters of Mary Stewart that were ciphered, and they decoded them. And then they asked for historians to work with them. And with Dr. Alex Courtney from the University of Cambridge, we are working together. So we are completely, fully transcribing them. The transcription are done and now translating them. But we also work on a book where we're going to offer a lot of historical context, and the team, the scientist team, and I'm going to go to that, are working on the cryptology chapters. And it's such an honor to work with brilliant brains and to work with people who are so passionate about what they're doing, but also challenge me in many ways and in the way I work and in the way I see history. When I say the 3 scientists, one is a computer scientist, George. Satoshi is an astrophysicist, amazing. And Norbert is a professor of music in Germany. And all of us are working like this together on these letters, which is why it was so wonderful to be interviewed by Jackson Van Uden at Chalke History and discuss the importance of these letters. But I was also very much humbled and honoured again to be asked to interview Alice Loxton on her latest book, 18. 18 is a very important book because it makes you reflect on what is youth, what is life in many ways, because what do you accomplish in a life? And here she discusses 18 figures historical figures that have accomplished something quite significant at the 18. So obviously she's going to talk about, you got it, tell me you got it, Princess Elizabeth. But she talked also about Bede, and she talked about Empress Matilda, she talks about Chaucer, and it was such a very good interview. And Alice Loxton is a historian, she's also a history influencer. What I mean by that is that not all historians are history influencers. She really tries to get people interested in history, and she does that so beautifully. And having that conversation made me realize that, we all work very together. She discussed that. She said, like, academics do that type of work. You have the regular public historians, and you have those who are more history influencer, who get and reach, the broader audience, and hopefully get all this audience back to all the people, all the type of research. And it was such an interesting discussion. So here what I give you in this video, if you're not members, is, snippets of my panel with Alex Courtney about Mary Stewart letters, but also a snippet of my interview with Alice Loxton. And if you are a full member, then you have longer version of these talks.
The discovery of new letters, newly deciphered letters of Mary Queen of Scots. And I learnt of this when a colleague of mine, I teach, I'm a school teacher as my profession, and I'm also a historian of the life and reign of James VI and First. And a colleague of mine sent me an email in the morning to say that there was this news story, and here's the link to the BBC. And I must have been having a really bad day, because I decided that I would use the 10 minutes of break that I had to look into this news story rather than doing anything else, like interacting with colleagues. And this then led me on to Georges Lasry's article giving more details of this project, at the end of which is a little note saying, we're not professional historians, we understand that this could be of interest to historians, and if any of you want to work with us, just get in touch, and here's the email. So I did. And that then led to this amazing international collaboration.
Estelle, how did you come to...
So it's a bit different somehow. I joined the team in May 2023. So I had learned about the letters as well, like you did, probably at the same time. But I just didn't... I was just finishing another book, so I was not really into the right mind space. And but then I decided to email George just to say, I was a huge fan of what he was doing, and I thought it was incredible. And he replied to me saying, I was going to contact you because I read Blood, Fire and Gold, and that's really helped me understand the politics between Elizabeth Catherine de Medici and Mary, Queen of Scots. And he said, would you like to join the team? And I said yes, but I think the things you're missing, I don't know if he did it to you, but he did it to me. He tested me.
Oh yeah, he did that.
He did that to you as well, right? And he tested many other historians, and there's only the two of us. And he said, you're gonna have access to one letter, and we're gonna see how good is your French. And when I transcribed everything after 15 minutes, he was like, join the team. I was like, okay, that I'm delighted. And that's how we started working together. But Alex and I we knew of each other, I think, because we have a common friend and a mentor. And then we started working together on that project, and that's how we, but it is something to work with a, astrophysicist, professor of music, and a computer scientist, and having two historians. I feel like a baby in the team. I have to tell you. The way she was raised, she was raised at the French court, and she was very, very French, and very influenced by the Guise family, her French family. She's a Guise. I think I consider it like that way. And I think we view her, so either she's a villain or she's a victim. And I think, especially with these letters, we see a completely different side of her. We realized different things about her. I think we're going to talk more about this during our talk, but they're groundbreaking for this because they were ciphered, they were coded, and so she was just speaking her mind. She's just, there's no, I don't know how to, she's not pretending anything. She's not pretending to be upset. She's just telling mostly the French ambassador, Mauvissière, how he needs to proceed, and I think that's what's so interesting. So we go beyond the villain or the victim. We just have a woman who's very intelligent. Sometimes she makes mistakes and she can look a bit stupid. I have to tell you that. It's true. But mostly she's intelligent, and basically she's a player. She's not, behind the scenes. Like she's not, passive. She's extremely active in everything she does. And another thing as well, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's such an equal to her cousins, not her uncles, please. Her uncles died, in the 1560s in France. To her cousin, the Guises, so Henri de Guise, and obviously Charles de Mayenne. So, she's literally their equal, and they work together for 3 different things: the French crown, the Scottish crown, and the English crown. And I think that in itself is quite amazing.
So, Alex, who is she? You've alluded to writing to her cousins, but who else is she writing these? Got it. All right. So, we've heard about who Mary Queen of Scots is, but who is she writing these letters to? Because as George does allude to when you watch it, he writes, and she writes an awful lot of letters.
So there are, in this discovery, there are some 57 letters. It's a major discovery, and 50 of the 57 letters were not known to historians before. And they are mostly, the bulk of them are written to Michel de Castelnau de Maubisière, whom she addresses as Monsieur de Maubisière, the French ambassador who served between 1576 and 1585. But these are not just letters to one ambassador. I think what we've got to understand about them is that they are her means of not necessarily even primarily communicating with the French. They're her means of being able to communicate with a wide range of actors, and what she's using the French ambassador to do, or she's trying to use him to do, is to plug her into the Elizabethan court.
This is a very important book, because I think that, especially in your introduction, when you discuss the importance of youth, I think it was what really touched me most, as I'm getting older, obviously, and reflecting on what it was like to live before. So my first question for you, Alice, is what is the inspiration behind your book?
Good question. Well, I always think it's interesting when we think about figures from history. We often think about them at the peak of their life, so perhaps when they're the most famous or they've achieved the thing that they are known for. And that often means that it's perhaps later on in their life, in middle age, and often it means we don't think about people from history in their youth, and we don't picture them immediately, say when they're 18 years old. So if you think about Geoffrey Chaucer, you probably think about him as a grown-up man, as a poet, which he was at the end of his life. But you often forget that he was once insecure and unsure, and it wasn't inevitable that he was going to become the great poet he was. So I guess I wanted to shine a light on this early moment of people's lives, where you guys all are now. Actually, how old is everyone in this room? Who's 18? Is anyone 18? Smart in the back, the techie. So are you 17? Are you sixth form? Not here?
Yeah.
Okay, put your hands up if you're 17. Okay, it's what about 16? Okay, okay, that's interesting. So you guys are coming up to 18, which is very exciting. Well, hopefully this might offer some advice for you in these years to come.
It's definitely a lot of advice in that book, actually, because you bring all these 18 lives together. And what I didn't really realize that we were going to do, but that you did so well in your book, is that you kind of link them together as well.
Yes, so basically I picked 18 different figures from history and looked at what they were doing at 18 years old. This starts with the Venerable Bede, some of you might know, and it ends with Vivienne Westwood, who is this figure that probably we think of as very modern and, I suppose, associated with fashion and being kind of rebellious. But she, of course, is a figure from history now. Sadly, she passed away recently. But in the book, I tried to put together, between each chapter, I have this like imaginary dinner party. If anyone's seen BBC Ghosts, that show, which I love, it's hilarious, it is quite similar to that in lots of ways. So then we have this dinner party with like young Geoffrey Chaucer sitting next to young Brunel, sitting next to young Elizabeth I. Like, what would Geoffrey Chaucer say to Vivienne Westwood? Like, I don't think that's something I'd ever thought about before, but it's quite a good exercise to actually force you to imagine these people in the room with you. How would they actually speak? Would they be able to speak to each other? It's kind of an interesting exercise and quite good to link it all together, I hope.
It's what you did so well.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.